I have saved this next step for after we selected a theme. This is because most details in the layout will vary store by store. It is best to configure the store after you choose a theme. Here's where most of the work will be spent. So let's go over the foundation of your website. I have found the easiest way is to go ahead and copy your store link and paste it into another browser, as we see right here. If we look at the front end of the store, we will see there's not much here. Moving forward, we will make adjustments on the back end and start piecing everything together and see how it will lay out with our store in the front end. Now that you have your fresh theme installed, let's configure this to represent our store brand. A popular trend now is actually themes that include the store demo data. As we see right here, we can import demo content into our store. This can be helpful understanding your theme and the different locations for each item. For now, we won't do this, as I'll go into each step individually and show you how everything is configured. We also see a pop-up on the top of the page that indicates this theme requires the following plugins installed or updated. Let's go ahead and install these plugins. You can just go ahead and click this checkbox right here, click Install, click Apply. Should take about a minute once everything's installed. And then we can go ahead and activate each one we want in the front of our store. For now, I'm just going to activate Fusion Core and Revolution Slider. Let's go ahead and start exploring this theme. But before that, I want to point out a couple things you'll notice on the left side. To start configuring these settings, we'll actually be going to Theme Options towards the bottom. You will notice a few different tabs up here. Customize, which allows you to customize the basic features of your theme while viewing your website. You also see below that is widgets, which are layout-specific items that can be added to your website. Below that we see menus, which controls your menus and placement of the menu items in your store. It also allows for optional menus as a top menu bar and a normal menu bar. And the top menu bar would actually be up here, followed by your normal menu, which would be displayed right here. You also see header right here, which if you click on that, you can actually see the front end of your store, and you can make edits while viewing it in the same screen. Below header is backgrounds, which can be a global background of your website if you decide to either use a color or an image. Backgrounds have kind of been less popular in the last couple of years just because they fade out the store a little bit more. Below theme options, you'll see sidebars, which is actually a theme-specific function for this website. Below that, you'll see installed plugins, as we just installed these. And lastly, we'll see Editor, where you can change the code in your theme files without having to re-upload or use your cPanel to make changes. Let's get right into our theme options and start going over these. Don't worry if your theme options are different from these. Many themes on the market take a similar approach with customizing the back end of the theme. What that means is most themes I've come across are extremely user-friendly, like this theme. This is one of the characteristics I do suggest looking at before making your purchase. Moving down the list on the side, I will go pretty quickly. I will also reference a few sites that I've created with this theme and how the settings refer to the front end. As we look at the general options really quickly, we see responsive options, which is responsive design is the first one, which basically means that this theme is responsive, going back to the previous mobile explanation I made in the last video. Use fixed layout for iPad portrait. This is if you wanted to display your website in portrait mode only for the iPad. While I don't suggest always using this, this does help if you have dynamic pictures and large items. Tracking code. Here is where you'll enter your Google Analytics code for your website. The space before head and the space before body are general codes that you can enter in. You won't have to worry about those right now. Moving down to site width. This theme allows for a wide or boxed layout. For this one, we're going to stick with the wide. The box layout will have a border throughout the outside of the website. If you do choose to have a sidebar on your website, you can adjust the site width and the content width of the actual sidebar. Same goes for below too. Next we'll look at header. First box we see is header content options. As we see right here, this theme allows for 5 different headers. You can have menus only. You could have menus with social icons. You can also have a similar option to above, but display your social icons on the top right, your phone, or let's say email. And then you could also select option number 4, which allows you to have a search bar on the top, along with the following option below, which is a centered logo with a centered menu items. Header shadow is pretty self-explanatory. It just displays a shadow to separate the header and the body of the website. 100% header width. This will just allow for a dynamic header width, which will display the same on any browser. So whether you're viewing your screen in a 26-inch or a 16-inch laptop, it'll still stretch the entire length of the browser. Slider position, this just allows you to display the slider either below or above the header. Header background, pretty self-explanatory. You can display a background image behind this header right here, but not taking up the menu icons. Parallax background image, this will just allow for a background to display right here, and when you scroll down it'll actually scroll the picture down too, with not moving the menu at all. This also controls the top padding, bottom padding, left padding, right padding of your header. So let's say that if you wanted the top padding to be a little bit more on your top menu bar, you can just adjust that to, let's say, 20 pixels or 25 pixels. It'll just display this a little bit bigger. And then here's your social icons, which you can control the color to it and whether they're boxed or not, and also the boxed radius on them too, if you wanted to make them bigger or smaller. Moving on to sticky header. What sticky header means is it's basically a menu bar that always sticks on the top. Let me show you an example. Here's a website I made for Goat Built. You see the menu bar right here? Well, once you scroll down, it'll also display right on the top, so you can view the menu any page you're on. And here's an example of a parallax image right here. This is a parallax background. And then this is where you can adjust all of the different options for the sticky header. You can make it enabled on tablets and mobile devices. You can also control the padding and the font size. So let's say if you wanted to make the font a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, you can do that, and along with the logo image too. Moving on to the logo part. As you can see here, they have plenty of different options for the logo. They also have a Retina version for iPads. So since Retina uses twice as many pixels, you can blow up your original logo and install that right in here. And then you could also control the width, the height, and the alignment of the logo. Let's say if you wanted it center, you can display it on the center of your header. So instead of displaying right here, it'll display right in the center. Let me see if I could show you an example right here. Oh, this one's displayed on the left too. You can also control the margins on the logo and the top and bottom margin. So let me give you an example right here. Let's say our logo was absolutely humongous. We can bump that over and make the logo start here if we wanted to, or if we had a smaller logo as well. And if we wanted more space for this logo area, we can bump up the top padding and the bottom padding too. Favicon options. What a favicon is it's these little icons right on the top of the browser. And you can actually control the different sizes for the different devices as well. So iPhone and iPad, and you can also make a Retina version of this too. Moving on to menu. When we look at our menu options, we see that we have a mobile menu design style, and we can actually switch from classic to modern. With mobile menus, I do recommend a free plugin out there. It's called Shift Nav, and it actually makes a pretty cool iPhone app-like feel with the navigation style. And then we could also control the navigation height, the navigation highlight bar size, which is that little bar that pops up, menu item padding, mobile menu item padding, main menu drop down width, top menu drop down width, mega menu max. Now keep in mind that this is for mobile right here, and then this is for your actual desktop layout. And then you can actually control the font of that too as well. And then here's where you can add another drop shadow. You can add the search icon in the main navigation, which is this little bar right here. And as we can see, we have our cart right next to that. And then enable circle border on menu icons. This just enables a little border around the menu. Mobile menu sub-menu slide outs. This is what I was talking about with the app-like design of the mobile menu. We'll go ahead and leave all these options the same and move on to page title bar. Now what page title bar is it's a global setting that shows you which page you're on your website. So right here it says that we're on the blog. This is the page title bar right here, and then it will display breadcrumbs too. For right now we're going to get away from that, and then you can also control the text alignment if you want to display it on the left, right, or center. That would be this text right here. And then our background on the page title bar, which we can see right here, it's these little circles. We could change that as well. We could also make a Retina version of that. We can make it a 100% background image, a parallax image. We can also fade the animation on that as well. And then display breadcrumbs search bar. These are the breadcrumbs right here that it would display. So let's say if we were on home, shop, product, and that product name, it would display that all throughout here. And we're going to go ahead and save these changes, and we'll actually get a little confirmation of a box too once we save our changes. Moving on to sliding bar. We won't use the sliding bar on this website, but what the sliding bar is it's this little bar right here. You can barely see it, and when you click on it, it would actually pop out. Let's scroll down to footer. Footer widgets. So widgets I mentioned over here, you can display these in your footer. Number of columns, also your footer width. You can also make a background image of your footer, and if you wanted to, make it a parallax image. And this just goes into the footer top padding, bottom padding, left padding, right padding. And as we can see right here, this is our footer. And then this is what they call the copyright area. And we can change those settings right here. So let's say you wanted to make your own text in the copyright bar. You can go ahead and enter in that right here. And then you can also display your social icons too, right beside that. Sidebars. Sidebars are basically another word for your widget on your page. And you can activate these, and you can make adjustments in the widget area too. And these are all the different pages you can put sidebars on. So let's say that we wanted to make sidebars in our archive page, and a popular item is to either put like a price slider or a color swatch, which means that you can click on which colors you would like to see the products displayed in correlation with each other. Background, this is pretty self-explanatory. You can choose a background pattern if you want. They have a couple predefined styles right here. You can make it an image. You can also make it a color as well. And then keep in mind, for box mode, this is where I mentioned that if you do display your website in box mode, it'll display a border around the entire website. So think of this layout right here as in box mode, and this would be your main website. And then let's say that this was a solid color right here. It would just display that color in correlation with this right here. And then background options below work for box and wide mode. This is just if you wanted to put a background image for your main content area. Now, I do not really recommend putting a background image in there unless it's a really light color and it's blurred out or faded out, just because this can take the eyes away from the actual customer on your website and also be very distracting. Typography, this is where you can override the custom fonts and add your own. You can also add your own Google fonts too, which will pull right from the Google servers. And then these are your standards. And below that we'll see font sizes, which we can actually control the different fonts for our website. Let's say if we wanted the body size bigger, our main menu bigger, we can adjust that up. And then we can also adjust the drop down sizes, secondary menu and top content, which is this going to be the bar above that. Let me give you an example. This is the top bar right here. And also see it displayed right here as well. We can also control the side menu font size, breadcrumb font size, which is this. This was our breadcrumb right here. Sidebar widget heading front size. This is if you display a widget on your website and you make a title for it. It'll display right there in the corresponding size. Sliding bar widget, footer widget. This is your bottom of your page. Copyright font size. This is what I just pointed out right here. It's your copyright. Your H1s, H2s, H3s, H4s, and H5s. So what your H's are is that's your headings that are corresponding with what you either display a post in, your product in, and you can change those varying on the options too. I usually like to make these a little bit closer to each other. That way they're not so dramatic when you're changing the H1s and the H2 tags. Your page title font size, this was right here. This is your page title. Your page title subheader, let's say if we had a subheader on our blog, it would actually display right underneath here. And you can adjust that font size right there. And we also see the WooCommerce icon font size. As we see below here, we see font line heights. Now what font line height means is it's actually the padding, or as they display here, the amount of pixels on each font. So let's say that we have an H1 tag and H2 tag. The 27 is actually the amount of distance between the bottom and the top. So let's say if you have a font of 20 and have this as 27, you'll have a 7 pixel variation from the top and bottom, which would technically be 3.5. Let me give you a quick example here. So we see right here, this looks like an H2 tag. And we can see the spacing between this H2 tag is even throughout here. And we also see the same with our body font right here. Here's another example of an H2 tag, and we see how we have even distance from the bottom right here. Moving on to styling. Now for styling, I want you to think of styling like all of your colors on your website and topography as all of your fonts and font sizes. So as we see right here, this was actually the default color scheme, which was green. And we can change the skin to either light or dark. If we change it to dark and save our changes and go ahead and refresh, we'll see we have a dark color scheme right now. I don't recommend using the dark. But let's change this back to light. And then let's change this to red, and we'll see what happens. As you can see, the link highlights changed into red. If we had the green color scheme still selected, it would change it back to green. Background colors. These are just the primary colors with the corresponding locations of the items. So sliding bar background color. So this was the sliding bar that we had up in the top right corner before. Our header background color, our sticky header background color. And you could also change the transparency of this as well. I'll give you an example. See how the sticky header right here is a little bit transparent when I scroll down? You can control that into here. Header border color, this is just the border of your header. Header top background color, this was that little bar towards the top of your page right here. So this would be displayed as black. Your page title bars, your background colors, your border colors, your content background colors, I highly recommend leaving this a lighter color. Your sidebar background color, footer background color. As you can see, our footer background color corresponds to this color right here. And here's actually the copyright background color, as we can see right here. Let's take a look at element colors really briefly. Roll over image gradient top color, and this is the bottom color below. This is if you wanted a gradient image on there. Roll over image element color. This is actually the text color on the element for the image. Footer widget divider color, sliding bar item divider color, form background color, form text color, form color. This is actually for your forms, which would be located in your contact page. And then WooCommerce box hover background color. This is for your WooCommerce shopping cart to control the background image, which, as you can see, this is this image right here. If you wanted to add that to 2 to 1, that's your quantity. BB Press, we don't have to worry about that right now. Layout options. Now this is similar to the options above, but this is for your page content. So page content top padding, bottom padding, 100% width left-right padding. This option controls the left-right padding for page content when using 100% site width or 100% width pages. So let's say you did choose to go with 100% width. Your content will stretch throughout the whole browser. Like I said before, if you're using a 27-inch or a 13-inch monitor, it'll be the same. This padding right here controls how much to the left and to the right it'll be displayed. Font colors, these are the font colors that were previously explained before. You can change the actual color of these, your H1 tags, your body text color, your link text color, so on and so forth. Main menu colors. Now this will be actually defined by the different the different headers you select. So let's say if we selected a 4 and 5, that'll actually have a different background color. And then your main menu font hover color, this is the hover, and it would change to the red as we see right there, if that was our menu item, of course. And then our main menu background color sublevels, this is for a sublevel pop-out. Right here isn't a very good example because I'm using a different plugin here, but the submenu is these items right here, and you control the different hover color and also the color of the font. Moving on to secondary menu colors. So the secondary menu is actually going to be your top menu, which is this bar right here. And I know the stock theme settings have it as a bold color. Usually this original one was red. I actually changed that out to a light gray and dark. You can see I did a similar option to right here above. And then this is where you can control the divider. So let's say they had a divider between each menu item. The menu background color, this is actually the background color of the menu for the sub-level. My apology. So let me give you an example right here. So this is the sub-level. This is actually the background color with the menu font color as well. And then secondary menu hover color, these are also for the sub-levels. You can see these match similar to the ones up here. Mobile menu colors, this is just to configure the mobile menu background colors, the border colors, and the menu hover color. Let's move on to shortcode styling. Now for shortcode styling, I'm not going to go into every one of these, but basically if you wanted to make a global option consistent on your entire website, you would change the settings right here. So let's say we wanted to make a specific button color, size, we would change the options in here. That way when we inputted them on our front end, they would all remain similar to almost the same. And you can see here all of the different options that we can configure. Moving on to blog. Now this is going to control all of your blog settings, so your blog page title, your subtitles. You can also configure all of the styling with them, how many grid number of layouts they are, pagination type, blog archive, category layout, and basically you can control all of the different settings on there, including the date, month, year, and then going all the way down to the bottom, even the meta options as well. So let's say, I know a popular item is to not display the author info box. You can uncheck that if you didn't want to display the author name. Moving on to portfolio, this controls all of your portfolio options. We won't be going into this in too much detail just because we won't be utilizing a portfolio that much. Social sharing box. This controls a little bit of the styling of the social sharing box, and these are actually going to pop up when you pop up a picture. And to control your social media settings, you would go up to here and you would enter in your Facebook ID, Flickr, your RSS feed, Twitter, and so on and so forth. Slideshows. This basically is the global settings for your slideshows. And don't get confused with slideshows and sliders. Slideshows is actually the built-in feature with this theme. Elastic slider. This is the general global settings for your default slider in the theme. Lightbox. Now what a lightbox is it's actually a pop-up that pops your image out. Let me give you a quick example here. This is called a lightbox. When we click on the image up here, it's going to pop up into a new box. And there's our lightbox image. And we can also see that you can scroll through the different images of the lightbox. And then here's how you can show all of the different settings of the lightbox. For example, the slideshow speed, the background transparency, the captions, descriptions, social linking, as we saw that we had social icons near the bottom. Contact, here's where you enter all your contact information if you choose to use the default contact page. Avada does have a really cool contact page that's all integrated within this theme. Search page. This will show how the search options are displayed. So if you wanted them in a grid layout, a timeline layout, and then your search results, what items that you want the search bar to return, and then also your search results per page. Extra. This is all of the extra options, and this is actually theme specific. So they have plenty of different options here, especially with the image rollover direction. You can customize all of those different options. Advanced. This is if you choose to use plugins that are theme specific with this. So I know that Avada has an Uber menu plugin support. So Uber menu is actually a really robust menu plugin for WordPress, and they actually have a plugin support for this. So you won't have to edit any code. And this will just disable any API scripts you have. Scrolling down all the way to the bottom, as you can see, they have plenty of different options. This is the product gallery slider. This was displayed before in here. You can disable this if you didn't want a gallery slider on your shopping cart. WooCommerce. Here's where you can enter in all the WooCommerce specific options. So WooCommerce number of products per page. 12 is usually a good one. You would also want to make sure that this is divisible by the number of columns, just so it displays evenly. Related upsells, cross-sells, product number of columns. We'll go into the upsells and cross-sells later once we dig into the WooCommerce settings. And then you could also use the WooCommerce one-page checkout. Order notes, my account, cart icon. This is actually the cart icon that's displayed in the secondary menu, this little cart right here. And you could actually choose to have this displayed either in the main menu or the top menu. As you can see right here, it's displayed in the top menu. You can have it displayed in the main menu as well. And then count area messages. This is where you can enter in your email or your customer service number for your store. Custom CSS. This is where you would input any custom CSS code, which actually is much easier than manually changing it or directly inputting it into your theme. Backup. This allows you to back up your own theme options. It's actually pretty cool because you can copy this theme. You can actually copy these settings right here and paste them into a clipboard and save that onto your physical computer. And you can also import options too. Auto updates. This just allows you to auto update the theme. Now that you have a good understanding of theme options, you can see how robust a quality WordPress theme is. You can customize nearly everything in your store. I understand that it can be overwhelming at first. This video is for future reference to make things easier when making quick edits in the future. After this video, behind the scenes, I'll be inputting dummy data for my website. This will help you visualize a better experience moving forward while building our stores. For more e-commerce resources, including guides, tutorials, and walkthroughs, visit actionecommerce.com. That's actionecommerce.com.